So there's this really old dude who like wrote some books and stories and stuff that were like, sort of popular. You probably never heard of him. It was just this guy called Isaac Asimov, one of the three fathers of science fiction as we know it. And some of the books he's like the most well-known and famous for is the Foundation trilogy. And as of 2021, Apple TV has been adapting the books into a fully fledged TV show. Also, just to make things 100% like transparent to any Asimov heads out there, is that the right term for an Asimov fan? I have not read the books, and I only know very, very small bits and pieces. So any fans of the books coming to watch this video, please just keep that in mind, please and thank you. But one thing a lot of fans and people that know his work sort of agree upon, and I think even Asimov himself might have said this or something similar along the lines of this, but don't quote me on it, is that Asimov's books and stories were more about the overarching concepts and ideas rather than the characters. And obviously, TV shows and movies and big budget productions kinda need characters for the audience to connect with. And there's this one character in the latest season of Foundation that has finally made his big debut after being hyped up in the previous season. He's called the Mule, and he's a psychotic space pirate with psychic abilities. People who have abilities such as this are referred to as mentalics. The Mule was originally portrayed by Michael Persbrandt in Season 2, but was recently recast as Pillow Asbeck for Season 3. Yep, that guy. The same guy who played another crazy lunatic pirate with a fancy ship in another fantasy show. If the show version of Euron Greyjoy was actually like book accurate, then Pillow playing both Euron Greyjoy and the Mule would have been very poetically symmetrical. What we're going to do here today is take a deep dive into this recasting and see how it reflects upon the character of the Mule, this big, massive antagonist that's been hyped up for over a season. Also, like, spoiler warning for Foundation if you haven't seen it. I feel like that's pretty obvious, but people tend to get mad when you don't give spoiler warning, so here it is. Look at that beautiful spoiler warning. Michael Persbrandt's short time as the Mule was really impactful, and I absolutely adored his performance in Season 2. The Mule is presented as this hyper-dangerous, galactic-level threat that is so powerful, one of our main characters predicts his rise to power 150 years before he's even born. I mean, hell, just listen to how threatening and serious this line delivery is.
Where are your mentalics, Gay? Where is the second foundation?
That was just beautiful, and one of the single biggest, oh, we're cooked moments in Season 2. And the finale of the entirety of Season 2 is the Mule talking to himself about how he's willing to burn everything to destroy Gale. And he gives this fearful monologue about how she's appeared in his dreams for years and years and years. The way Persbrandt shakes his body and changes his tone of voice from one of shaky fear to an uncontainable rage just as his eyes turn blue was just so well executed. This kind of, let's call it obsessive insanity is really hard to capture, and it's even harder to capture it right. But in my personal opinion, Persbrandt's performance here really set the precedent for just how terrifying of a villain the Mule was going to be. And then we got the news of the recast. When I saw it was Pillow taking up the news, am I saying that right? Is it Pillow? Because I'm just feel like I'm talking about pillows in there. Is it Pilu? Pilu? I know it's Danish. I don't speak Danish or no Danish dialect. I'm just gonna continue saying Pillow, because that's kind of funny. When I saw it was Pillow who'd be taking up the role as the Mule, I was unsurprisingly a little bit skeptical after having watched Game of Thrones. I feel like his role as Euron Greyjoy is pretty infamous, but that's more Dumb and Dumber's fault for the absolutely atrocious writing. But, you know, his performance as the fuckboy pirate from the Dragon Show certainly conveyed the kind of energy that they were trying to get across. That being the energy of a fuckboy pirate.
A finger in the bum.
I was worried that a lot, if not all of the fearful, obsessive insanity portrayed by Persbrandt would just be completely lost, and we'd end up with essentially another Euron Greyjoy. And well, some of it definitely was lost. But the new Mule isn't necessarily a bad or reduction of the previous. Take the opening scene of Foundation's third season, for example. It highlights and effectively conveys what kind of character the Mule is going to be. Overconfident, arrogant, dangerous, and hungry. With just one use of his abilities, he compels this Archduke's entire infantry and airmen to completely and utterly destroy each other as he stands there reveling in the destruction. So while the opening scene of season 3 was very strong and was quite a good introduction to the mule as a major character now that he, exists, I was still a little bit worried that a lot of the sort of like serious, insane madman stuff that Persbrandt brought to the table would just be lost. But I had to keep in mind that writers have to sort of consider their actors' ranges when scripting dialogue. You know, how well the actor is at being serious, how well they are at being sentimental, how good they are or not good they are at being cold, etc. And I'd say the version of the mule we got in season 3 definitely plays to Pillow's strengths as an actor. He's still psychotic and extremely lustful for blood and destruction, but in a much more, let's say, colorful fashion. Whereas Persbrandt's mule was a lot more singular and focused in these respects. Persbrandt's portrayal of the mule was a haunted and fearful man, willing to burn everything he touches to ensure that the girl haunting his dreams never reaches him. Not because it's fun, not because he enjoys it, but because he is terrified. And that terror very obviously runs black through his heart. Pillow's mule, on the other hand, is still haunted by his dreams, but he takes great pleasure in controlling, killing, torturing, and destroying. Whereas Persbrandt's mules seem to treat it more as a means to an end rather than a sport. One thing I will definitely give credit for in regards to Pillow's mule is that after he's sort of done having his fun, if you will, his tone reverts back to one of more reserved seriousness. Because all the violence and torture and killing is ultimately still a means to an end. So was this recast a good thing or a bad thing? Well, like most things, it's subjective. I definitely was looking forward to Persbrandt playing the mule, as his brief appearances in season 2 made him seem genuinely terrifying. But as a viewer, I do find characters who are colorfully psychotic very entertaining if written and executed correctly. Is Pillow's mule one of those characters? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. His opening scene was pretty strong, like I said, and there's this one scene where he makes a Foundation higher-up drown himself to sort of flaunt his power and authority, which I really enjoyed. And, you can say whatever you want about me enjoying a scene of a man making another man drown himself. On the other hand, sometimes this colorful insanity is overused and ends up oversaturating the character into being less intimidating and threatening. It's a very fine balance that's hard to strike. To sum up my thoughts and observations about the recasting of this incredibly integral character, I think it could have been a lot worse. What we were promised in season 2 was very promising. What we got in season 3 is what I would dub plenty acceptable, but maybe a little too colorful at times. This video is probably going to end up being a little bit shorter, but it's a topic I've been really wanting to talk about. Problem is, I had to wait until the entire season of Foundation was out because I can't criticize a performance of a role until the entire role and the media is out. But if you're a Foundation fan who's watched the show, what did you think? Did you actually enjoy Pillow's mule a whole lot? Were you disappointed? Were you like me and were kind of like, yeah, the mule's fine, I enjoy him. Please be sure to let me know down in the comments, and please let me know if you want me to talk more about Foundation. It is one of my absolute favorite shows ever since it came out, and every season has been an absolute delight to watch. And of course, if you did enjoy watching this video and listening to me talk about one of my favorite sci-fi shows, please hit the like and sub button. I would greatly appreciate that. Also, if you really like the way we do things around here and you want to show me a little bit of extra support, then definitely consider becoming a channel member. Not only do you get access to a whole bunch of exclusive rewards, but you also directly support me in the process and help keep this channel running. But that is going to do it for now. Thank you all so much for watching, and yeah, have a good day, everyone.